Now, This Week in Texoma.
Welcome to the program. Our guest today is Mike Domish. He is the founder of the Date Safe Project, and we're going to talk about what all that entails. But Mike's in town because he has been invited at the request of the Army to speak to soldiers and officers at Fort Sill to talk about the problem of sexual assault, and he is an expert in that. He travels all over the country, all over the world, in fact, spreading a message of how to handle the problem of sexual assault. Of course, if you've watched the news, you've seen all kinds of stories about how the military is trying to increase its awareness of it, and that's why they asked our guest today to help give them some insight as to how to implement those kind of policies. Nice to meet you, Mike. Good
Thanks
to have
for
you
having me here, David. Appreciate it.
I mentioned that you're the founder of the Date Safe Project. Give us a little bit of a background of your personal background and how the Date Safe Project started.
Well, I certainly didn't have a plan to do this when I was younger. What happened was I was in college in 1989. I received a phone call that the youngest of my sisters had been raped. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I was filled with rage and anger. Soon I would realize that's not going to serve me or help anybody.
Right.
And so I heard a speaker and I realized, hey, I can do something about this. I can speak out and use my voice. And I realized then that's going to be my avenue. And that's where I started. I started as a college student speaking out and really trying to help people understand what sexual assault was, what it means to have consent, how to open the door for survivors to come forward. And that all began back in 1990 and 91. And it's grown from there over the years. In 2003, we founded the Date Safe Project.
Now, your background, though, wasn't social work or anything like that, right? I mean, you had a different...
No, not at all.
Right?
Yeah, so I was a student studying theater in college in Chicago. And when I received that phone call, I realized I needed to be home. And home was back in Wisconsin. And so I transferred back home. And then what I did is I changed majors because I wanted to be in something a little more secure so I could be with family. And so I changed to entrepreneurship and business. Ironically, I would go on to start a speaking company on social issues. So it all blended really well together and made sense. There wasn't a master plan originally, though, for that to happen, but it was just a matter of, I knew this is where my voice was needed. I knew this was my life mission to make this difference and try to spread this message, and that's what we're still doing today.
How did that impact your family, the incident that happened to you that inspired this whole journey?
Yeah, it devastates everybody. And this is true in all families. You see not only my other sisters, my parents, but my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, what we call secondary victims. It goes deep and it hurts at a deep level. The wonderful thing is, now that we're doing this work, our family supports it on a very deep level, on a very positive level. One of the most common questions people ask me is they say, Mike, how does your sister Sherry feel about the fact you're doing this work?
Right.
And I had that same concern because I'm traveling the world speaking and getting to go all over the world, and we've had books published, and you say, wait a second, I've had the success, but it only happened because my sister was raped. And so you have this deep guilt. And so when my first book came out, May I Kiss You, I went to give Sherry the book. I wanted her to be the first person because she's what inspired our work. And as I went to give her the book, I started to get very emotional. Sherry could see this. She looked me right in the eye and said, Mike, why are you starting to tear up? Why are you starting to cry? And I looked her in the eyes and I said, because you had to be raped for me to make a difference. And that's messed up. Sherry looks me right back in the eyes and says, Mike, see, for me, what happened to me, I can look at it and know that what you're doing means there was a reason this happened to me, so you could make a difference. It's an amazing sister. And her strength and her courage, when you meet survivors, you realize that's inside every survivor, and that's what keeps us going, knowing there's so many survivors out there that deserve better, and we need to stop this from happening.
How did the process transition from you being an inspired brother that just wanted to reach out and support your sister in any way you could? How did that then blossom into this Date Safe group over a, what, 10, 13-year period?
Yeah, it did. It was about 10 years. In the last 13 years, we've been the Date Safe Project. It wasn't smooth because, keep in mind, this was 1990, 91. Schools were not talking about sexual assault. The military wasn't talking. Tailhook was about to happen. And even with Tailhook, we didn't know how to handle that and how to address that. So it was a rough road because here I was, this young guy, trying to talk to students about sexual assault, and I looked even younger than I was. So I looked like I was literally 16 and I was 22, and people are going, why should I have this 16-year-old kid talking to us about sexual assault? And I struggled, but we just kept on working at it, and we even had to do it on the side. Went from full-time to doing it more part-time, and I was an at-home dad for a little while. And what happened was, in the early 2000s, somebody saw me speak, and they said, why aren't you doing this all over the country? And it was another professional speaker. And I gave them why. and they said the world has changed. We need what you're doing out there, and organizations want this. They want the skills you're teaching. And overnight, we sold the business that we owned. We almost went bankrupt. We were broke, but we believed in the mission, both my wife and I, and that's when it really took off. 2002, it just really soared. Book came out in 2003. The Date Safe Project was also founded that year.
Talk a little bit about what are some of the things that you use. I know if you go online to datesafeproject.org, you'll find all kinds of things on there that you're speaking to schools. You have things for parents and that kind of thing. So just kind of, what are some of the things that you do offer?
Yeah, well, for parents out there, if you have a teen and you're thinking, hey, how do I help my teenager? What resources are there for my teenager?
Right.
Our website is full of resources. There is videos for parents that they can watch to help them. There's articles for parents to be able to read and share with their teenagers. There's books. There's even a DVD that parents can watch on how to talk to their kids. You know, most parents fear that teenager looking in the eye and sort of rolling their eyes as they talk. And we want to give parents the resources that make the kids engaged and say, hey, I actually appreciate this conversation, Mom, Dad. I'm glad we're having this conversation. So that's one of the big things we do. Number two, we work in a lot of middle schools and high schools around the country, helping them give the right skill set to their teenagers. You know, you talk to most parents at schools, you say, what do you teach about intimacy? And it's usually one of two things, what not to do or what not to get. What does that leave the kid with what to do? How do you handle intimacy the right way when you are ready? So we're giving them skills that help them actually slow things down and make better choices. On the other end, we also work with a lot of universities. In fact, that's one of the biggest areas that we work in is universities around the country, and then the U.S. military. And that is such a great honor. Our military gets how important this is. They are being really aggressive and assertive at getting this education out to our soldiers on a daily basis. They're bringing us in, and the difference you're seeing in the military is incredible. They're really trying to work on creating a transformation, not just a change, a transformation in culture that hopefully, by the way, will slowly get into general society, because we need that transformation to happen everywhere.
We need to take a break, and we're going to come back and continue our discussion with Mike Domish of the Date Safe Project. You can check it out at datesafeproject.org, and we'll continue in just a bit. Stick around.
If you have a topic or issue you'd like us to focus on, please write to the address on your screen or fax us at 357-3811. Or you can email us.
Queso shrimp is delicious.
We loved it. We're coming back.
Would you like to win a bike? If you live in Lawton and are in grades 3 through 5, it's easy. Look for the coloring book from the City of Lawton to be handed out at your school or download it at kswo.com. Choose a page to color and mail it to KSWO TV by May 17th. Good luck.
Elgin Fire Department's 11th annual Rods and Rods will be held on May 10th, and you could win a Factory 533 Hot Rod, along with a car show, live music, a poker run, and great food. Don't miss your chance to win a Factory 533 Hot Rod at the 11th annual Rods and Rods in Elgin, Oklahoma.
The atmosphere was great, and we loved the margaritas.
Chicken quesadillas are one of my favorites.
I had the grilled chicken, and it was really great.
The service was awesome, and I'm coming back.
Welcome back to the program. Mike Domish is our guest. He is the founder of the Date Safe Project, talking about sexual assault and giving tools to parents and students to identify that and how to protect yourself against it. As he mentioned in the first segment, this whole thing was inspired by the fact that his sister was raped. And yet, when you look at your curriculum, you're talking about these are kind of rules for intimacy. This is how you date. How do you make that transition from we have a rape to let me back it all the way up to dealing with rules for dating?
Yeah, and a lot of parents think that too. They're like, hey, you know, you say that this program is fun and it's interactive.
Right.
How do you do that with a topic like sexual assault?
Yeah.
Well, here's what happened to me. When my sister was raped, I was in my dating ages. I was in college. So what it made me do was look at, all right, how do I get consent? And I started going, well, you know, who asked? So I went to other people and said, hey, do you ask before you kiss someone? You know, and everybody's like, no, I don't ask.
Right.
And I then, well, wait a second, if nobody's asking, what are we doing?
Right.
And you started to realize everybody's been raised in this culture of you assume.
Yeah.
You assume and you go for it in another person's body until they stop you. Well, when you say that out loud, that sounds messed up.
Yeah.
And so that had made me realize, wait a second, as a 21-year-old guy, why am I not asking? And that's where it all began. So then I decided, hey, let's give people the skills to ask. Imagine if everybody was asking and honoring the answer, clearly sexual assault would not be happening very often, besides people who intentionally do that to somebody, a serial rapist. But a lot of other sexual assaults would not occur because everybody would have a choice. So then we also said, all right, that's one thing we can teach. We also have this certain situation that tends to be occurring over and over again, whether it's in schools, colleges, or the military, and that is the person who's getting drunk or somebody who's getting them drunk and intentionally staying sober to take advantage of the drunk person.
Right.
Now, we call it taking advantage. What's happening is a sexual assault or rape. And we just don't call it that.
Right.
So we help people realize this, hey, let's call it what it is. That's not a drunk hookup. That's not someone being taken advantage of. That's someone being raped, and we need to identify that. So then we came in and said, all right, we're going to identify that, and now we're going to give people skills on how to stop that from happening.
Right.
You're at a bar or your party, I'm going to teach you how to actually intervene in a non-confrontational way that stops that from happening. The third piece we had was, all right, so now we're doing all these things to lower sexual assault from happening. What are we doing to help survivors?
Right.
To support them coming forward. You know, most parents don't realize that if your child's been assaulted, the odds your child's going to tell you are extremely slim. So how are we going to open those doors so that your child can actually come forward to you and you can be there for your child, which every parent wants? I'll give you a classic line that parents say all the time to their kids. They'll look their kid like straight in the eye and they'll be like, if anybody ever touches you, I'm going to kill him. Right? It's just a common statement.
Sure.
What is the kid? The kid's looking at the parent going, okay, that wasn't very loving.
Right.
You know, and I believe you're going to freak out, so I'm not going to tell you.
Right.
And so what happens is survivors don't come forward.
Right.
Children don't go to their parents. They don't even go to their best friends because they think they'll go to their parents. They don't go to their siblings. They're afraid it's going to go to their parents. So every time a parent says, if somebody touches you, I'm going to kill them, that parent actually decreases the odds that that survivor is ever going to come forward to them. And, you know, when you talk to parents, you say, what's your greatest fear? And most parents will tell you, outside of losing my child, my greatest fear is no decision my child will make. My greatest fear is the day my child can't come to me when they most need me. Well, then you don't want to make comments like, I'm going to kill them if they touch you. That's going to make sure they don't come to you. So we give parents and we give students the words to say to help your loved ones be able to come forward. And those are the three main components to the Can I Kiss You program.
When you talked about on the dating side of it, you mentioned, you know, who's asking. It sounds like such a simple thing.
Yeah.
But the simplest questions are sometimes the hardest ones to ask, right? I mean, so because you don't want. So what are some of the strategies you use in that arena so that people can go, well, I can feel comfortable asking something that you think, well, sure, why not? It seems easy, but it's got to be a lot harder than that to do, or we'd be doing it all the time, right?
That's right. If we were raised from a little child to do this, we would all be doing it.
Right.
The problem is the barriers people have in their head for reasons they make up that they won't ask. For instance, they'll say, well, if I ask, they might say no. Yeah, heaven forbid you give them a choice.
Right.
I mean, think about how messed up that is, right? That's some scary reason for not asking.
Right.
Or they'll go, well, if I ask, it's going to be awkward.
Right.
You're already awkward.
Right.
if you're dating and you're intimate with someone, you've been awkward. And all the moms and dads out there know, you're still awkward when you're married sometimes.
Right.
You're not really afraid of being awkward. If you were, you'd never be intimate with anyone.
Right.
And so it's overcoming those barriers. And then you need to actually show people an asking scene. If you just say ask, somebody's going, how am I going to ask? And then they picture like this nerd going, can I kiss you? That's what they picture, which that's going to ruin the moment. I agree with you. So what they have us do is we come in and we actually role play with students on stage or with soldiers on stage. Two people asking for a kiss. And when students see it or when soldiers see it and somebody turns to somebody and says, hey, I've had a great time tonight. May I give you a kiss? The room's like, I would love that.
Right.
If my partner did that for me, man, cuts out all the games.
Right.
Cuts out all the waiting for somebody to make a move that you don't really know. All that garb, cuts it all out. Why aren't we doing this sooner? Right. All they need to do is see it. Right. You know, you see somebody looking into your eyes and letting you know how much they care about you and they want to be there for you, they want to have intimacy with you. That's a connection. And that's much more powerful than me guessing or assuming what you want, which comes off as arrogance. Complete turn off.
Yeah, it's one of the things as I was looking at the site, and some of the things you do is one of those things that people talk about, well, he uses humor to work through there, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm going to a seminar talking about sexual assault. I'm not expecting to see a humorous take on that, but whenever you frame it in this way, now it starts to make a lot more sense as you can figure out a way to attack it from that other side, change the environment of the scenarios so that we're not opening up to get down that pathway. We're going to take another quick break, continue our talk today with Mike Domish of the Date Safe Project when we come back.
If you have a topic or issue you'd like us to focus on, please write to the address on your screen or fax us at 357-3811. Or you can email us.
What gets you moving?
Because when you get moving an hour a day,
you'll have more energy to dig into the things you like to do. Whether you like to set the ball up,
or just spike it,
keep the soccer ball around,
or ride your bike.
Moving every day ups your game
and builds your strength
and confidence.
So be a player.
Move it your way and be a player.
Get up and play an hour a day, Doc.
Check out how to be a player at letsmove.gov.
Head online to get tips on great ways to get moving every day.
That's www.letsmove.gov.
KSWO-TV is accepting applications for a news production assistant. Qualified applicants will have an interest in broadcast journalism, the ability to work well as a team, be organized and punctual, and work well under pressure. Applicants working towards a degree in television, journalism, or production preferred, but not required. Send your resume to the address on screen or by email to hr@kswo.com. KSWO-TV is an equal opportunity employer.
Welcome back to the program. Mike Domish is our guest. He's the founder of the Date Safe Project. If you want to get some of the information about what we're talking about on the program today, go to datesafeproject.org, a terrific site there. They've got some videos on there. They've got places where you can order things, a store basically where there's DVDs, there's posters, there's books, all kind of curriculum, so that if you need a little bit of help and just the basic advice is a little bit overwhelming, then you can get some of that stuff. He's also got a web show and blogs and radio. It's a multimedia event there, so it's really quite a good collection of items to help you out.
Thanks, David. I appreciate that. We want to give parents as much resources as possible so that you can really engage your children in these conversations.
Because it is an overwhelming thing. I mean, like you had said before, we want to protect our kids. We want to give them the tools that we have, but short of saying, you know, like you said, the violent approach of going, well, know that, you know, Dad's got a gun in the closet and he'll take care of anything. I mean, that's not really practical. We've got to have some other ways to focus on that. So, you know, in terms of how we can help parents tell kids what to do, maybe showing them what to do, that's another way to get through to them?
It is. Yeah. And one of the first things parents need to think about is, are you teaching your kids what to do, or are you just telling them what not to do?
Right.
If you're telling a teen just what not to do, your teen's probably not listening. Yeah. Because who wants to be told what not to do, right? You want to be given something you can actually do. Right. And by the way, if you tell your teen what not to do, they'll figure out what they can. Yeah. And they're going to figure that out by experimentation, the internet.
Yeah, they're looking for the loopholes as soon as you say
They're looking for the loophole. Yeah. So what we want to do is give how-to skill sets, and that's really what makes it fun. Because if you're giving me a how-to, I can implement in my life instantly and make a positive impact. And here's a really important thing. Teenagers want to do the right thing. Like a lot of times parents think, well, you know, kids, they get their hormones moving and they're not really thinking. Look, teenagers tell you all the time, I wish I was making better choices. I don't know how to sometimes. I feel like I'm missing the tool set. And so as a parent, you want to give them the tool set. One of the greatest things you can do is role model, without a doubt. Now, I'll go to parents and say, do you hope that your child always has a choice before somebody does something with your child's body, sexually or intimately, when they begin dating? Almost every single parent will say, yes, you better believe I do. Great. What are you doing in your home to role model someone being asked before intimacy begins? Parents go, what? What do you mean role model?
Right.
Well, if you want your child to be asked before somebody kisses them, do you ask your partner before you kiss them in front of your children? And sometimes parents will be like, well, I've been married 20 years. I don't need to ask. Think about the message you just said to your kids. Right. You just said to your kids, hey, if you really love someone and been with them a long time, yeah, you don't have to give them choices anymore. That's scary stuff. You want to do the direct opposite. So you go home tonight, and you want to kiss your partner. Your kids are right there at the kitchen table. You turn to your partner and say, hey, may I kiss you? All right? And the kids are like, oh my gosh, you did not just do that in front of us. Right. It gives you a golden moment to teach. Right. You go, you know what I did? And they go, but you've never done that before. You're right, I've never done that before. But the fact is, I didn't realize before today what I was failing to do was to teach you that I really want you to give your partner choices. And how dare I tell you that you deserve a choice, that your partner deserves a choice, and you don't see me give your mom a choice. And in fact, the more I love your mom, the more I know she deserves a choice every single time. And your mom feels the same way towards me. I deserve a choice. There's no assumptions that we're just going to do this because we've been together a long time. That's not going to happen. Right. We're going to give each other choices. And so when you role play it, if kids always grew up seeing parents saying, may I kiss you? And sometimes saying no, by the way, because that's going to happen. Right. It teaches them there's a yes and a no there. When they start dating, it becomes very natural. Hey, I've had a great time tonight. May I kiss you? They've seen it. If they've never seen it, what are the odds? Most human beings are going to try something they've never even seen another human being do. Right. Slim. So you really want to role model that behavior, and you want to honor their boundaries. Ask parents how they talk to their kids about giving a relative a kiss. Right? Grandma, what do they tell you to do? Well, what do they tell grandma when the little kid's meeting grandma? What do they say?
Go give grandma a kiss.
Go give grandma a kiss. You see the kids look on their face. I don't want to. Grandma smells. Right? That's that kind of a reaction.
She'll smother me with the big hug. I don't like that.
And what do the parents say?
You do it anyway.
You go kiss grandma right now. And what does the kid learn? Oh, if I love them, that's what you do. At a very early age, we teach children that we're going to breach their boundaries. And then we wonder why others end up breaching their boundaries down the road. So the other thing is, not only do we have to teach them how to honor their own boundaries, but we need to honor their boundaries as their parents. If I ask you for a kiss and you're my child and you say no, I have to honor that choice as much as that may hurt me. That's your choice.
Also, the other level, too, is once you get past that, then is reopening that intimacy on deeper levels, too, whenever you don't just automatically assume, well, this is what she wants, or this is what he wants, or this is what I usually do.
That's right.
That's another level of trying to work through that maze as well, I would guess. Right?
That's correct. And for parents out there, you know, one of the neat things you need to be able to do as a parent is you need to be able to explore your own communication skills while you're trying to teach your own children that. So I tell parents all the time, if you tell me, oh, we have a great relationship. All right, as a grown adult, are you able to look your partner right in the eyes as you're about to engage in intimacy and ask this simple question? What would you love for me to do in bed for you intimately? Now, this can be a lot of fun if you're able to have this question. Some parents watch them will go, I can't believe they just said that. That is totally creepy and inappropriate. Let me get this straight. You're going to engage in behaviors with your partner you can't talk about as a married couple. I don't think this question is creepy. I think something's wrong with a relationship where we're not able to talk to each other. And by the way, if you want your kids not to engage in high-risk sexual behaviors, teach them how to be able to talk about intimacy, because they're going to recognize when they can't talk. And if a kid recognizes, wait, I can't really talk about this. I can't ask that question. I'm not that comfortable. I'm not ready. I need to slow down. And by you as a parent learning that skill for yourself, you're able to more easily teach it to your child.
We need to take another quick break, and we're going to come back and wrap things up with Mike Domish of the Date Safe Project. We'll be back in just a bit.
If you have a topic or issue you'd like us to focus on, please write to the address on your screen or fax us at 357-3811. Or you can email us.
The best prices are at Lawton Optical. Get the best prices on any lens, no gimmicks, no add-ons, and nobody beats our price guarantee, or it's free. Right now, for a limited time, you can get 2 pairs of glasses for the price of 1. That's right, 2 for 1. And we now accept iMed, United, Spectera, Superior, Aetna, and Sooner Care. Lawton Optical, home of the best price guarantee, or it's free. 205 Southwest C Avenue in Lawton.
I was afraid of passing it through my breast milk.
I wanted to earn my black belt. I noticed these black lines on my lips. My youngest son has asthma.
So I quit.
I quit smoking. Now I'm in control. I haven't smoked in over 2 years.
3 years.
4 years. 3 years.
What's your reason for quitting?
Talk with your doctor and call 1-800-QUIT-NOW or visit okhelpline.com.
Welcome back to the program. Just a few minutes remaining today with Mike Domish of the Date Safe Project. Go to datesafeproject.org if you'd like more information about what we've been talking about today. We've been talking about how to change the culture, if you will, of dating so that sexual assault, the environment for something like that maybe not be quite as high, but we know that given our best efforts, it's still going to happen at some point. We had addressed a little earlier in the program about victims and your personal experience with it. Give me some help as to what happens whenever I do get that communication working with my son or my daughter, and they're able to help me out with that, and they come to me and they say something terrible has happened. Like you said before, my initial reaction is, give me his name and I'll go over there and we'll take care of business in my way.
That's and we'll pause right there. Because that is a normal reaction as a parent. That's just normal. You're going to have their reaction. The problem is the person who just assaulted your child took away all your child's choices. That's what sexual assault is. It's an abuse of power. Now you as a parent appear to be reacting and making all the choices on behalf of your child. Now what does your child feel like? Oh, I'm about to be re-victimized in a way because my parents are taking away my voice also. They're about to react without me wanting them to react that way. Second of all, if you're a parent and you go out and you get revenge, you can't be a parent from behind bars, certainly not as good of one. So the last thing we want a parent to do is to be focused on revenge when the person who needs them is right in front of them, their child. So what you want to do is make sure you're going to say the right thing. Your child says to you, hey, that's already happened to me. you want to make sure you don't say two things. Number one, you don't want to say who did it as your first words. It sounds like you are focused on revenge. Number two, if you sort of do the freak out thing of, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. What does the other person always say to that? Oh, it's okay, it's not your fault.
Right.
Which means they're now consoling you.
Right.
That's messed up a bit.
Right.
And so instead of saying that, it's well-intentioned, but it doesn't do any good for the survivor. So what we want to do is instead, we want to look that person right in the eyes, that survivor that's our loved one, and we want to look that person right in the eyes and say, thank you so much for sharing with me. Clearly you're strong, you're courageous. What can I do to help? I want to be here for you. And then you listen. You listen to what your child needs. You let your child know about the resources that are available, the local sexual assault crisis center. And you thank them for sharing with you and tell them how strong and courageous they are so they do understand, yes, I am strong and courageous. And you don't tell them they need to talk with somebody, they need to go get help. You tell them they deserve to. Telling somebody they need to sounds like you have a problem.
Right.
Telling me that I deserve that gives me a place of empowerment, that it comes in a much more positive manner that's important.
And I would bet, how much longer do I stay in that mode? You know, I would think there would be something that initially we're like, well, we're going to go here, we're going to go here, we're going to get you help they need. But that kind of pain lingers for a while. I'm kind of uncomfortable. Am I going to go back? Are you feeling okay, you know, a week or two or a month or 6 months later?
It's really critical that parents realize that they've experienced a form of victimization themselves in their lives. Something's been taken away, their lives have been violated. And parents, it's true, you're going to feel this way. And so one of the keys is you need to be able to talk with someone. You know, a lot of times parents will say, hey, to my child, we're going to get your support. We're going to get, and the parent forgets to get support.
Right.
And sometimes each other's not support because you're both feeling pain and hurt, and that's clashing, and that's anger, and it can cause more harm.
Right.
You both need an outlet you can turn to. So as a parent, talk to your local sexual assault crisis center and say, what are resources that are available from ourselves in addition for our child? Because the Sexual Assault Crisis Center has advocates that they're trained to be there for the survivor. Find out what groups are trained to be there for the parents. That can be a huge help.
Yeah, I think there's so many times we don't, you'd mentioned earlier, it does impact the entire family and on different levels and different ways. Just have a couple of minutes left. As we mentioned at the beginning of the program, you're here because on the invitation of the U.S. Army to talk to the soldiers at Fort Sill. Tell me a little bit about how you maybe modify your program when you're talking to the military, because when we're talking about some of those things about asking permission and this kind of thing, that mindset of the soldier, the guy who goes into the military, seems like that might be a little harder nut to crack sometime whenever we're, you know, am I right? Or
well,
no?
you know, it's interesting. The people serving in our military are the exact same people that go to our colleges and our universities. And I speak in college universities all over the world. They're 18 to 24-year-olds when they're coming into the military. They have the same urges, wants, desires that any 18 or 24-year-old has. We have an unfair perception of our military that somehow they're more brutish, or not as respectful, and it's the direct opposite. You know, it's drilled into them every day, respect, honor, integrity.
Sure.
And so they want to do the right thing, just like those teenagers do. The key is, if we're just telling them what not to do as soldiers, once again, we're not giving them something proactive they can do when they are out on the town, when they are being intimate with someone. So when the military is bringing us in, we're going to go in and we're going to talk about it. Let's talk about situations you're in. Let's talk about when you do want to be intimate with someone, how are you going to make it wonderful for both of you? How are you going to talk about what you want, what you don't want? How are you going to honor when that person says to you, I'm not ready, I'm not comfortable, I don't know about this? What are you going to say? Are you going to say, oh, no, it's okay, you know you really want this, which is pressuring, using guilt, coercion? That's not good, that's an abuse of power, that's awful. Instead, your partner says, you know what, I'm not comfortable with a kiss. Look your partner in the eye and say, well, then I'm glad I asked. The last thing I want to do is make you feel uncomfortable. Now you have a connection. Now you have somewhere where the two of you can keep going from. Actually, you can springboard into a more powerful relationship because you're honoring the choice you presented your partner with. And this is true whether you're asking for a kiss for the first time or very advanced intimacy.
Terrific information from Mike Domish of the Date Safe Project. If you want more information, you can go to datesafeproject.org. All kinds of things on there for you to find out support for parents, for victims, how you can talk to your own kids about sexual intimacy and preventing that environment of sexual assault. Great to meet you, sir.
Thank you, David, for addressing the issue.
Thanks for joining us, folks. We'll see you next time.
If you have a topic or issue you'd like us to focus on, please write to the address on your screen or fax us at 357-3811. Or you can email us.